Hi guys, welcome to U.S. History. This is the first video in a series of many. I really hope you enjoyed this concept of a flipped classroom, and I'll try to keep it interesting, so be on the lookout for my goofy additions to the videos. Right now you need to make sure that you have everything ready to take notes. Alright, let's get this party started. Speaking of parties, we're going to talk about our nation's first political parties and their amazing efforts to establish a stable government for a newborn country. Let's get going. We're going to start Goal 1 in Chapter 2. Yesterday we talked a little bit about Chapter 1, which lays the foundation for Goal 1. So we'll begin in Chapter 2, Sections 1 and 2. The objectives in this particular presentation will be the first and third objectives. The first objective is to identify domestic issues and conflicts during the Federalist period. The third objective is to assess and describe commercial and diplomatic relations with Britain, Spain, and France. Our essential questions are: how did the two-party system emerge in American politics? And how did foreign policy affect political debate and shape American government? We'll begin, of course, with our first president, the election of George Washington. This took place in 1788. The Electoral College selected George Washington as president. Now, in this time, the vice president did not run with the president on a separate ticket. What happened was the vice president was the runner-up. So John Adams, who got the second highest number of Electoral College votes, was selected as the vice president. And there were not many other positions in the executive branch. The first U.S. Congress was established in 1789, and the founding leaders met in New York City for the first Congress. This is where Washington was inaugurated. And the first Congress was operating under the newly ratified Constitution. Washington very early on realized that the job of presidency was extremely large role, even for a new country that was still relatively small. And Washington established the cabinet to assist and advise him. There were 4 offices to begin with. The Secretary of State, for this he chose Jefferson, and it was responsible for foreign policy. The Secretary of the Treasury, and for this he chose Hamilton, and this would pay off the national debt and be responsible for the nation's money. The Secretary of War, he selected Knox for this position, and the Attorney General, he selected Randolph. In terms of handling the debt, this was going to be Hamilton's job, and Hamilton had a plan to pay off the national debt of $52 million. First part of the plan was to pay off foreign debt, everything that we owed to other countries. The second part of the plan was to assume state debts. That means that all the debts that the individual states had would be taken on by the federal government. The third part of the plan was to impose tariffs and excise taxes. Okay, excise taxes are also called sin taxes. The fourth and last part of this plan was to create a national bank and national currency. By national currency, I mean one currency for all the states. At that time, you have to remember each state had its own currency. Hamilton knew that his plan for handling the national debt may not be popular with anti-federalists. Why do you think that this was the case? Think about it for a minute. Write it down. Okay, we're going to pick up with the anti-federalist viewpoint in our next video.